Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unwoke Thoughts. We got a big show for you today. Big show. I'm late today. I'm late because right before I was about to hit the live button, I spilled coffee all over myself. Yes, that actually happened. Why is it that coffee just seems so much more liquidy than any other liquid? I was bringing it up to my lips. I was about to hit that live button, and for some reason, it just exploded all over the place. I was like, great. Great. So I had to clean myself off. And I had to refill my coffee cup, okay? And walk back in here. But we are back, guys. Yes, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Lots of stuff happening. It is Friday, right? I am correct on that, right? I believe so. I believe today is Friday. But lots of stuff happening. Joe Rogan is no longer the number one podcast. See, guys, I dumped coffee on myself, and now I can't even talk. He's no longer the number one podcast on Spotify. That's what they should call podcasts on Spotify. I may have inadvertently come up with a podcast name on Spotify. Podcast. Spotify podcast. Does that work? I don't know. But he has officially been overtaken by a certain Fox News host, guys. This is a hard one. I'll let you guys guess, but I don't think there's any way you're going to get it. But comment down below if you know. Ben Carlson goes on Tucker Carlson and answers this scary question: what would happen if Kamala Harris were to become president? And really, I honestly don't even want to think about that. That's pretty scary. Barrack and Michelle Obama have officially endorsed Kamala Harris for president, and we all knew this was coming. But Barack Obama released a video on his X account of the phone call, so we're going to check that out. There's a movement online that shows apparent Nikki Haley voters pledging their votes to Kamala Harris. Someone on Twitter, though, I'm gonna show you this. It's pretty wild. Someone on Twitter looked into the political donation history of one of these Republicans flipped to Kamala Harris, and the truth is pretty interesting. To be expected, but still interesting. The White House and the media are out in full force to get Kamala Harris elected. And it sure is looking like they really despise Kamala Harris being called the border czar, almost more than anything else. They do not like the fact that Kamala Harris is synonymous with the failing border. Yes, they don't like her being called the border czar. Media, the White House, this gigantic monstrosity of a propaganda machine is turning their full weight against this label. Is pretty wild. And they seem to be destroying what little credibility they have left to outright lie. I mean, they lie all the time, but these are even more obvious than usual. But they're outright lying to everyone and saying with a straight face that Kamala Harris was never the border czar. What are you talking about? What? Like, border czar? What's that? When there are literally videos on the internet showing the opposite, showing the fact that Kamala Harris was, in fact, the border czar. Kamala Harris is facing backlash for supporting the Minnesota Freedom Fund, a radical leftist fund that paid for violent criminals' legal bills to get them out of jail. And this is another one that the media is turning against, saying, oh, no, she never supported this Freedom Fund, when there's actually tweets on her Twitter. There's actually interviews she's given where she's talked about this. So they're not even hiding it anymore, guys. They're like out just pure propaganda at this point. They're not even trying to, hide their lies. They're just frantically trying to lie and hopefully something that they throw up against the wall. One lie they throw up against the wall will stick. That's what they're trying to do. Another thing we're talking about, after giving his address to the nation the other day, someone has pointed out that when Joe Biden walked out of the White House, because they have a video of this, he is oddly tall. He is oddly tall. Got me to thinking, Could this be Biden clone number 17? We haven't seen that one in a while. Biden clone number 17. Wow, that brings me back. But we'll check that out and see if anything looks off in the video. Both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have met with Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, Bibi. But Kamala Harris's meeting only lasted 14 seconds, and it was extremely awkward. Yes. This is insane, guys. Listen to this. Newsweek reported that Donald Trump may not have actually been shot. Yes, they actually wrote that in a headline. Can you believe it? So we're going to check out that article. And finally, last thing we're going to look at, guys. Benny Johnson, he went to the site of Trump's attempted assassination, and he walks to where Trump was standing when he was hit. And he kind of gives the vantage point. And it's absolutely incredible how close it was. It's a perspective I hadn't seen before. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the show, if you could leave a like on this video, it would really help me out. And if you enjoy this video, consider subscribing. But let's get into the show. Tucker Carlson has officially, did you guys guess that one right? He has officially overtaken the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify. Yes, we got number 1, Tucker Carlson show. Number 2, the Joe Rogan Experience moved down under the Tucker Carlson show. And number 3, Call Her Daddy. Yeah, guys, Call Her Daddy, number 3. If you are a woman watching Call Her Daddy, can you please not? It's such a corrosive show. But that's a number 3. But I think the important thing to focus on here is Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, number 1, number 2. Both great shows. Joe Rogan, of course, is a little bit more, I would say, liberal. But he's like the old, kind of more of an old school liberal. He's not like the radical leftist, of today. He's like what you wish the Democrats were. So I do enjoy me some Joe Rogan Experience. I listen to him a lot, and the Tucker Carlson show as well. And you see right here, number 5 on this chart is the Dan Bongino show. So that's very interesting. So hopefully Dan Bongino moves up. But let's look at this article from the Post Millennial guys. It talks about this breaking: Tucker Carlson overtakes Joe Rogan on Spotify, now the number 1 podcast in America. Carlson took the top spot after he had podcast episodes with Jack Posobiec and others. Tucker Carlson's podcast, The Tucker Carlson Show, overtook Joe Rogan on Spotify. Senior editor at Human Events, Jack Posobiec, who appeared in one of the episodes this week, commented on the results on X, and he tweeted this out. This is the screenshot we just saw. He said, "Congrats to Tucker and the entire Tucker Carlson team. I wonder if he had any good guests on this week." Of course, he's talking about himself. Rogan has long been the number 1 podcast on Spotify for quite some time. However, some of the large interviews on Tucker Carlson's show may have put the political commentator over the top. I also have a theory on this. I don't think it's entirely because Tucker Carlson has been he's been having great guests, great interviews, getting a lot of exposure. But I think it also has to do with the fact that recently Joe Rogan has been available. Spotify and Joe Rogan did a deal with YouTube that allowed Joe Rogan to start putting his podcast back out on YouTube. Because if you guys remember, Joe Rogan had a $400 million deal that he made with Spotify where he was exclusive to Spotify. And now that's changed. He still has a deal with Spotify, but I guess him and Spotify are working together with his deal with YouTube. So now he's able to put his podcast on YouTube. So I believe now, that audience that was almost exclusively Spotify, because a lot of people signed up for Spotify to watch his or listen or watch his podcast. And now it's not available just on Spotify now. So now I believe that audience is kind of split. So that might be a reason why these numbers have fallen a little bit for Joe Rogan. But also probably. Tucker Carlson, he's been putting out banger after banger. I mean, he's been doing great interviews. So that's probably a combination. It's probably a combination of the two. Great podcast put up by Tucker Carlson, and the fact that Joe Rogan is now also available on YouTube. I believe that is kind of a combination of the two. That's why it happened. But this goes on to say Posobiec as well as Dr. Carlson have gone on to the show this week after Biden dropped out of the race. Additionally, on July the 18th, Mike Cernovich appeared on the Tucker Carlson show. Posobiec and Carlson discussed the attempted assassination on Donald Trump during the Tuesday episode. They also spoke on Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden in the 2024 race, the shooter's motive in the assassination attempt, and why Biden stayed out of the public eye for a week after going to Nevada. So, guys, yeah, if you want to listen to that, I mean, guys, the Posobiec episode and his recent one that he just let out, I believe, yesterday with Tucker Carlson. No, not Tucker, Ben Carson. So good. It's great. I'm going to play you a couple clips of that. But if you guys want to check out that entire thing, I believe he's on YouTube and also on X. But congrats to Tucker Carlson for moving up in that slot. That's very incredible. Tucker Carlson had Ben Carson on his show just yesterday. And Ben Carson, he's asked what he believes this election is about. And this is what he responds. And I mean, I 100% agree with Ben Carson here. I mean, Ben Carson sounds like he's about to fall asleep. But let me tell you, the guy, he gives some gold nuggets during this interview. Listen.
The battle that's going on in this election is not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about people who want a country that is of, for, and by the people, and people who want a government that is of, for, and by the government. That's what this is about. The battle that's...
He's absolutely right. You see the media, the White House, these monstrosities of the corporate press and everything. You see them turning on a dime to get behind Kamala Harris as they echo cries that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. That's not normal, guys. That's freaking scary. Let me tell you, that crap scares me. Because Kamala Harris, you look at her, what does she actually believe in? She doesn't care. What Kamala Harris believes in is whatever they tell her to believe in. She is an empty suit, just like Joe Biden. She might be even worse. There's been reports that she has been the most far left politician, most radical left politician that has ever been in the White House. And it's pretty incredible. But you see the lies that they're trying to tell, the gaslighting that they're trying to do to the American people to tell them, oh, she was never this. She was never the border czar, because if she was a catastrophic failure. Oh, she was never involved in these radical leftist funds that funded these protesters like Antifa going into these cities and trashing the place. She was never a part of that when she actually tweeted out in support of these funds. She tweeted out the fundraising link, and she went on shows, TV shows, and was interviewed and talked about this. But you have outlet after outlet after outlet lying to everybody, saying that this never happened. It's scary. Then, of course, you have Karine Jean-Pierre coming out and saying, oh, she was never the border czar. You expect that, but get ready, guys, because it's getting pretty wild. And this is something that we have to fight back against. And we can't let up. As silly as Kamala Harris seems, as wacko and as, weird as she seems, she fell out of a coconut tree, all that funny stuff. She has the entirety of the monstrosity of the Democrat corporate propaganda machine behind her. And we cannot forget that. But this is Ben Carson. I thought this was another very good clip. I'm going to play the entire thing. It's about 3 minutes long. He's asked what would happen actually. If Kamala Harris...
She was the one who basically didn't want...
One second, guys. What would happen if she were to be elected president? That's what we're all kind of wondering. Hopefully it never comes to that, but this is what he said.
What do you think would happen if Kamala Harris got elected president?
I think we would continue to move in a very leftist direction. I mean, she was the most radical left-wing member of the Senate. She was even to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was a co-sponsor of the Green New Energy deal. You know, she wants Medicaid for everybody, mandatory, no private insurance. As the DA, she was the one who basically didn't want to punish people who were guilty of horrendous crimes and repeat offenders. And she wanted open borders. And all the things that we see happening, you can put those on steroids if she becomes the president. And I hope people will go back and look at her record. Don't just listen to pleasant words.
Yeah, that's the problem, because the media is trying to expunge her record and trying to make sure that everybody doesn't inspect what actually is her record. They are directly lying to people about Kamala Harris and her record and what she's attached to. And Ben Carson's like, I really hope. He's been in politics for a while. He's like, I really hope people actually look at Kamala Harris's record versus just watching CNN or MSNBC or, reading something online. Because odds are, if you read something online, unless you're specifically looking for a certain outlet, you're going to read something about Kamala Harris never being the border czar, never donating to these radical leftist funds that paid for violent protesters to get out of jail. You're not going to read about that in these mainstream media articles.
That will be interspersed with ridiculous laughter. But go back and actually look at what she did and what she has said. And I think people will remember why she got no traction at all when she was running for president.
I'm really struck by that. I'm struck by how little popular support she's ever had, ever. So now, according to some polls, she's the sitting vice president, but she's the front runner in this race. How did that happen in a country that's supposed to be run by its people? That's a representative democracy.
Well, I mean, you talk about a threat to democracy when the votes of 14 million people are just tossed into the wastebasket and a bunch of backroom politicians make decisions.
You're talking about the primary votes.
Right. Then we end up with somebody who, on their own merits, would never have been in that position. That's a real problem. And there are consequences for doing things like that. The reason that our country accelerated from a bunch of ragtag militiamen to the pinnacle of the world is because we had a process. And it worked well, and it reflected the will of the people. When you throw that out, you can't anticipate that things will continue to go smoothly.
So, I mean, like I said, Ben Carson, he might sound like he's, falling asleep, but the guy, when he talks, he actually throws down some truth bombs, and he makes a really good point. He said she is not getting here by her own merits. And this is something that we've talked about before. This is a feature, not a bug. They don't want someone who actually has some backbone, fighting through a bunch of opponents to rise up victorious, after a democratic process. They don't want that. They want someone that they install, that they can control like an actual puppet. They want to get as close to a puppet in the White House as possible. If they could have an actual public puppet, they probably would. But that's hard to fake on, I guess, TV or whatever. When if they said they can't have an actual puppet, people would see the strings. But, I mean, we see and talk about regularly the imaginary strings that are attached to these politicians. But they want someone as close to that and as easily controlled as possible. And Kamala is just the next one in line to be throned. But, ladies and gentlemen, big news. Barack Obama has officially endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Not just Barack Obama, actually. Barack and Michelle Obama, believe it or not. Yes, they both endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Barack Obama posted this on his Twitter account. This is the video. And he said, earlier this week, Michelle and I called our friend Kamala Harris. We told her we think she'll make a fantastic president of the United States and that she has our full support. At this critical moment for our country, we're going to do everything we can to make sure she wins in November. We hope you'll join us. But this is the video that he attached to the tweet. Listen.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Guys, come on now. Was that like a legitimate phone call? Do you think that was scripted? How many takes do you think it took for them to go through that? And this is the best they can come up with. Oh, Michelle and Obama, thank you so much. It's like, dude, you got to be kidding me. It's all filmed and like edited and looks like there's like they even have like a filter on there or something like that, color correction, and you can hear Obama's audio and then you can hear Kamala's audio. Oh my gosh, guys. It's so the whole Democrat Party is just one giant production. It's incredible. It's pretty wild. And what I think what's more interesting is that there's a lot of people in the United States that who they just can't see that. They're like, oh wow, it's kind of like reality shows, you know those shows back in the day? I think there's still some of them out there, but the reality shows, and you watch them, you're like, oh, wow, this is actually really happening. But then you find out later it's all scripted, It's like, oh, all of a sudden this crazy thing happened at the perfect time. Wow. Who would have guessed? But it's all scripted just to keep your attention, and they call it a reality show, so you think it's real, so it's therefore more interesting. That's what the Democrat Party is, literally. It's insanity. But someone else who is extremely excited about Kamala Harris is Rosie O'Donnell. Wait, this is Rosie O'Donnell, right? Is this Rosie? I don't know. I thought this was Rosie O'Donnell. I think it is. But she's very excited about Kamala Harris being selected for the president for the Democrat Party. I mean, I guess she's not technically she's not the nominee yet, but it's sure looking like it. Listen.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Shaka Khan. So excited. Isn't this fantastic? What's happened? Just goes to show you, when you really feel the chips are down and you're stuck in a corner and doom is what's in the forecast.
Ugh.
The clouds open up and the sun shines through. And
listen, there ain't no sunshine shining on you. Let me tell you, you look miserable. Whoa. That's just sad. Get it away. Get it away. I can't look. Oh God, I can't look. Jeez. Whew. Anyways, Nikki Haley voters Nikki Haley Republican voters, air quotes, are posting videos saying that they are now voting for Kamala Harris. This is a video here, guys. A couple here. Kyle Sweetster, I don't know who that is, but this guy apparently is a Republican who is now supporting Kamala Harris. Yeah, right. This is what he has to say.
Kyle, I'm a lifelong Republican from Alabama.
Oh, yeah? Are you?
I voted for Trump twice. I started to move away from Trump towards the end of his presidency.
So he sounds very, balanced. I voted for Trump twice. I started to move away from Trump. Guys, never underestimate the power of the Democrat propaganda machine. This is all part of the Democrat propaganda machine, let me tell you. Here's another one. This guy right here. Here's a Haley voter, apparently. I guess he looks kind of like a Haley voter, not going to lie, but this is what he has to say.
My name is Chris. I'm a Reagan Republican who voted for Nikki Haley in the
primaries
and backed her all the way, but I cannot get behind or support Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They're just too extreme for our party and for...
So this guy in particular, guys, let me find this tweet really quick. This one's interesting. Robbie Starbuck looked into this. This Chris guy specifically. Look at this. Now, he retweeted the video. I don't know what account he retweeted it from or what where he got the video, but he retweeted the video. It was under here at one point. But this morning, because I saved this link last night, this morning when I woke up and I was putting everything together, it looks like the video was taken down. Yes. But that Chris guy that we just watched, the really skinny one who said that he was a Reagan Republican and a lifelong Republican. Robbie Starbuck on Twitter, he actually looked into this guy and looked into his political donation history. And he said, wow, Chris, for a Republican, you sure donate a lot to Act Blue and the Democrat Senate fundraising committee. Stop lying. So this is Christopher right here. This is his donation history. Look at this. Act Blue, $50, $5, $50, $55, $55, $50. Look at that. Look at all these donations. This is the guy who said that he was a Reagan Republican. I'm telling you guys, never underestimate the power of the Democratic corporate propaganda machine. These look like, oh, I'm just some normal guy. I used to be a Nikki Haley supporter. I used to be a Reagan supporter. I was a Trump supporter. Now I'm voting for Kamala Harris. It's like, you're a liar. Get out of here. That's not true. Especially when you see all these accounts all at once, all of a sudden start tweeting this crap. It's just like, okay, this is an intelligence agency brainwashing operation that they're trying to do on Twitter or something like that. It's absolutely incredible. Yes, guys. So when I see stuff like that, it's kind of weird because I am on Twitter so much, I can kind of see it happening because it kind of comes in waves. And you could kind of see it like once Kamala Harris announced that she was running for president. All of a sudden you see the waves of accounts tweeting like almost the exact same thing. And then they switch it up. They'll switch it up about Kamala Harris. Oh, Kamala Harris was never the border czar, is blah, 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 blah. Or this thing that you see now, this is just the newest one, where Nikki Haley voters are voting for Kamala Harris. So they're trying to go after that faction of support for Nikki Haley when she ran against Trump. So it's very weird, but it's just what happens on Twitter and probably more of social media as well, like Facebook and whatnot. I don't get on Facebook that often, but I can imagine this happens on Facebook as well. Political strategist James Carville says that Kamala's best days of campaign are already behind her. So he went on Don Lemon show, and this is what he said. Listen.
Well, right now she's doing well, very well, and but let's find out why she's doing very well. She's doing very well because 72% of the country wanted something different. And she is something different. So people are excited about it. I think there were 800,000 overnight donations. 60% were first-time donors. And that people were not expressing any policy agenda. They weren't expressing anything. They just wanted something other than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And thank God that President Biden had the wherewithal to see that in the party, you know.
So I'm not going to play you the entire thing, guys, but he's on Don Lemon's show right here. Don Lemon, formerly an anchor on CNN, very interesting. Now he has a YouTube channel. And it's what's even more interesting here. I mean, it looks like Don Lemon's about to fall asleep in this video. Look at this. The guy looks like he's about to fall asleep. What's funny is this guy used to get millions of views on CNN, guys, right? And now he's on YouTube. Not a very popular YouTuber. So it's almost like if you just let people choose what they want to watch, what they want to listen to, these people like Don Lemon, who used to be astroturfed into people's eyes and brains, now who are just a regular YouTuber like myself. He's got more name recognition than I do. So, I mean, he's got more views and viewers and stuff than I do. But considering how many views and people who used to watch him on CNN, it's like a sliver of a fraction of what he used to get. And that's gotta sting. But yes. So James Carville seems like he's a political strategist. Seems like he's very concerned about Kamala Harris's viability in the future. This was yesterday. House votes 220 to 196 to condemn Kamala Harris's open border policy. Yes, in the midst of the media and the White House saying that Kamala Harris is not the border czar. Had never had anything to do with the border whatsoever. Looks like the Republican-led House wants to counteract that message a little bit. This really doesn't do anything whatsoever.
196, the resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
So this really doesn't do anything whatsoever. It just kind of shows. It's just like one of those things like, hey, look, we're going to do this. We condemn Kamala Harris's actions on the border. Open border policy. It's just a way to have some counter messaging out there because what's happening in the media right now saying that Kamala Harris had nothing to do with the border is pretty insane. But let's look a little bit into this. It wasn't all Republicans that voted for this measure, though. It's pretty interesting. Democrats vote with GOP to condemn Kamala Harris for border failure. 6 Democrats voted with the House GOP to condemn Kamala Harris's failures on the border. The 6 Democrats who voted in favor of H.R. 1371 were Representatives Mary Peltova, Jared Golden, Mary Perez Caravello, Don Davis, and Henry Queller. Rep. Goldman and others in the group came from swing districts in their various states. The resolution had been brought forward by House GOP Chair Elise Stefanik from New York, and she said, "Today, my resolution condemning Kamala Harris for her role as Joe Biden's open border czar passed the House. Let me be clear. Harris and every elected Democrat owns this historic border crisis that has turned every community into a border community. It is time we return to President Donald Trump's border security policies that put the safety of American citizens first." This is Congresswoman Stefanik commenting on the resolution passing. But the White House is hard at work churning out propaganda and gaslighting everybody about Kamala Harris being the border czar in the past. Listen.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So Democrats are being handed a piece of paper a flyer with talking points about Kamala Harris being the border czar, being attached or connected to the border when Joe Biden actually did. He put her in charge of the border. And now they're trying to reel all that back because the border is a catastrophic failure. They don't want the American people to know this. So they're trying to, once again, guys, remember that when I explained the term memory hole? They are trying to memory hole the fact that Kamala Harris ever was put in charge of the border. They're trying to memory hole it. Like I said, once again, memory holing, like what the media does. We live in a society today where we have so much information coming at us, like every single minute. It's like breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. You open up your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. So it's really hard to keep up with all that information flying at you all the time. So at some point, you start to, forget certain things, and the media, they leverage this propensity for people to forget because there's so much information flying at them. So they try to just twist something really quick, and people just forget that actually ever was a thing, and it becomes memory hold. And it's only left up to people like myself, other YouTubers, independent media, and maybe, just maybe, every once in a while, Fox News to bring it back up and be like, hey, actually, White House, you're lying. CNN, MSNBC, you're lying. You even reported on this yourself back in the day, back when she was put as the border czar, back when she was put in charge of the border, back when Joe Biden put her in charge of the border. So they're trying to memory hole that, and we can't let them do that because Kamala needs to own that failure, because that is Kamala and Biden's failure, and Kamala was put in charge of it, and they don't want her to have to own that because they know the border is either the number one or number two issue with the Americans today. And that's a big problem for Kamala. That's why they're coming out in full force against this. But listen.
Oh, the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president?
Yeah, why?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal?
Oh, did we?
Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan deal just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to?
Because they codified into law a certain number of illegals coming over the border every single week. What was it? 5,000, 10,000? That's why.
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border? Say, if somebody had addressed root causes of migration sooner.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward.
So, yeah, of course, she just obfuscates there. She turns it around, tries to put it on the Republicans. And then she's like, well, look, the border crossings are down 55%. Oh, you mean because Biden is actually trying to do something in an election year? All of a sudden, we realize that Biden could have done something this entire time with the border. But when it's an election year, when he knows it's a very unpopular problem, all of a sudden, crossings are down. Whoa. You mean to tell me Biden could have done this the entire time? He could have done this 3 years ago. Are you kidding me? But it's the Republicans' fault. Wow, incredible. But someone made a mashup. I had to show you guys this. It's incredible. They say, this was tweeted out by ALX, this is Benny Johnson's producer, but he says, this is the evolution of the media on Kamala Harris's role of border czar. So this is a mashup of different clips. The media is saying that, Harris is never the border czar. Harris never connected to the border. And now, and then you look in the past, she actually was. Listen, watch.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
Oh, it's just so sweet, isn't it, guys? If you guys noticed, that was literally, these are literally the same media companies back to back. One media company says now, oh, Kamala Harris was never the border czar, like ABC. You see right here. It'll be ABC, then and now. CNN, then and now. It's absolutely incredible, guys. They're just trying to memory hole this. And it blows my mind they think this could actually work. It's kind of like this right here. You look, see, this is not just on TV. This is also in articles. USA Today, look, back in March the 24th of 2021, this article was written, and it was on USA Today. Vice President to lead White House efforts to stem migration at the border. And now, this was written, what is today? The 26th? Now, on the 23rd, updated the 24th, Harris' border work was on root causes of migration. She wasn't in charge. So they're really trying to confuse people about Harris being the border czar. They don't like that. They know that is a huge weak spot for Kamala Harris. But another weak spot is her backing and supporting these radical leftist funds like the Minnesota Freedom Fund. This is a fund that paid for violent criminals to get out of jail. They would pay for their legal fees, legal bills. CBS News reports that this was a lie. So this is WCCO News Minnesota. This is what they said. I won't read the article, but they said, Trump falsely accuses Harris of donating to Minnesota Freedom Fund, bailing out dangerous criminals. And you could just scroll down in the comments and you can see where Kamala Harris right here, she actually tweeted this out June 1st, 2020. This is a link to donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund right here. This is on Kamala Harris's Twitter account. And you can just scroll down. Everyone's calling this out. They even have a picture of Kamala Harris for the people. This is a website, another website, donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. This is another thing that they're very concerned about. And not only that, but she did this interview where she was specifically asked about the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and she knows what it is. Listen.
I want to ask you, the Minnesota GOP is holding a press conference this afternoon to criticize you for your support.
One thing I didn't notice, actually, I just noticed this now. This clip right here is from WCCO4 News, okay? This tweet right here where WCCO says Trump falsely, this is from WCCO. So this is literally them contradicting themselves. It's insane. But watch.
A couple of years ago, before you were the vice president, was something called the Minnesota Freedom Fund that was really set up to help those who were arrested in the aftermath of the George Floyd riots, help them get out. It's since been sort of morphed into something else and has been used to help people get out who've been accused of many other crimes. Do you have any thoughts about this?
Well, first of all, I am a child of parents who marched
for civil rights in the 1960s in America. And I have always been and will always be a supporter of peaceful protests. Many peaceful protests over the history of our country have led to an expansion of rights and an expansion of civil rights. So that's
I mean, she just goes on to speak platitudes, kind of like that. But I think the reason why we see these lies the way we're seeing them, they can't really craft a narrative very well. They have to outright lie because their backs are against the wall. They're running against a clock that is counting down very quickly. This honeymoon phase with Kamala Harris is not going to last forever, and they know it. So they've got to come out aggressively against her failures. And they don't have the luxury of time to try to really do a good job at manipulating people. So they're just literally just trying to smash through and just create a totally fake reality for everybody. Is pretty incredible. Where are we at here? Okay. Kamala Harris, she met with Benjamin Netanyahu. It was a very awkward meeting. It lasted all of 14 seconds. Yes. If you guys want to watch it, here you go.
Welcome, Mr. Prime Minister.
Welcome. Jeez.
Thank you all.
And that's it. And that's all. We're done. So, yeah, that was Kamala Harris meeting with Bibi, and Netanyahu. After Joe Biden gave his address to the nation a couple days ago, Biden walks out and he looks extremely tall. Did you guys notice this? Look at this. Look at how long his legs are. Is that Biden clone number 17? What is going on? That is not. Come on. They're just playing with us at this point. There's no way that's Joe Biden. His feet look too big. His legs look like a mile long. What the heck? I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it. And this person, I don't know what this is. But yeah, guys. This picture shows Jill Biden and Joe Biden standing next to each other. And he doesn't look that much taller than her. Maybe an inch, possibly. But come on, you can't tell me. There's just no way. There's no way. I've never seen Biden look that tall. That's just wild. But also, Biden, he met with Benjamin Netanyahu as well. This is Biden with the man himself. Netanyahu looks a little bit amused by Joe Biden. But Biden had a photo op with Netanyahu, and it didn't really go too well. Look at this. This is Biden with Netanyahu. What the heck is that, man? That's just crazy. Look at that. There is Biden. He doesn't look as tall there, does he? He's pretty wild. And just for a quick laugh about Biden here, Karine Jean-Pierre claims that Joe Biden will go down in history as one of the nation's greatest presidents. Listen.
This is a selfless act, something that very few politicians would ever do. President Biden will go down in history as one of the nation's greatest presidents. This is a selfless act.
Right. I'm sure that is I guess it depends on who wins the White House in November, or if the cultural right or the cultural left win the cultural battle, because if it's the cultural left, they'll probably write Joe Biden in there as some sort of hero that, fought for the rights of American people to do what, I don't know. You just never know with these people, guys, because what do they say? The victors always write the history books. So I guess it depends. Well, I guess it depends who has control of the history books, okay? It depends. But the Trump campaign issues a statement saying they won't commit to scheduling any debates against Kamala Harris until she's officially the nominee. So this is what the Trump campaign said. Given the continued political chaos surrounding crooked Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, general election debate details cannot be finalized until the Democrats formally decide on their nominee. There is a strong sense by many in the Democrat Party, namely Barrack Hussein Obama, so he has since this morning came out and endorsed Kamala, that Kamala Harris is a Marxist fraud who cannot beat President Trump, and they are still holding out for someone better. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their minds. And they still can. They still can, because Kamala, while she has all these endorsements, all these other things, she is not officially the Democrat nominee. She's got pledged delegates, and they're trying to rush this forward to make sure she's the Democrat nominee. They're trying to get this set in stone before the DNC so that none of these delegates or these states can put forth a competing nominee. They don't want anybody competing against her. Incredible. They just want Kamala Harris. But we're going to talk about some of the attempted Trump assassination stuff, guys. Of course, this is still being hashed out. This is still being talked about. They want to memory hole this as well. They want you to forget about this and all the odd things surrounding this situation. I mean, I still can't believe I'm saying this. It just doesn't seem real still. Just almost 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump was almost assassinated. What the heck? And now we have websites like Newsweek, media companies like Newsweek coming out and posting articles like this. Donald Trump might not have been shot after all. That was the original headline. And now I'll go to the actual article now. They changed the headline to say this. Donald Trump may not have been hit by a bullet, FBI director says. So they probably got some backlash. And so they changed the headline. But this is what the article says. FBI Director Christopher Wray said on Wednesday that it was not clear whether former President Donald Trump was shot or hit by shrapnel when a gunman opened fire at his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania earlier this month. The FBI is investigating the July 13th shooting, which killed one rally goer and seriously injured two others before the gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot by the Secret Service. So, interesting choice of words. You guys, you got to look at the headlines of these news companies. They choose their words very carefully. So you can read a headline and read down into the article, and it says something. It provides context that completely changes what you read when you read the headline. And it's pretty incredible. It is pretty incredible what they do. This is, I believe, one of the number one ways the media lies, because they know 99% of people. Remember, I said we live in this society where we have so much information just flying at us over and over and over and over. That is part of the propaganda system, just to overload you with information to where you only start to read headlines. You want to get information as quickly as possible, but you want it as condensed as possible, right? That's why TikTok is a thing. So people, a lot of times, are scrolling through Facebook, through X or whatever. They just read. I'm guilty of it too. That you just read the headline. Holy crap, Donald Trump may not have been shot. Who reported this? Oh, it's Newsweek. Oh, that seems credible. Then they go tell their friend, hey, Sandy, hey, did you hear this? Did you hear that Donald Trump may not have actually been shot? No, did you? Is that true? No, that can't be real. No, I saw it on Newsweek. Oh, did you really? Can I see it? Oh, yeah, here's the headline right here. Then they go tell their friend, hey, Bill, did you hear that Donald Trump may not have actually been shot? And then it just spreads. All from this freaking Newsweek article. Yeah. Just like Kamala Harris and the border czar. You know, hey, Sarah, did you know that Kamala Harris was actually never the border czar? The border czar? And then Sarah's like, no, I remember hearing it on the news, you know, back a couple years ago that she was put in charge of the border. No, she wasn't put in charge of the border. Did you see CNN this morning? They said she never was. Oh, really? Wow. That's really crazy. I must have imagined that. So they trust the media over their own brains. Just how it happens, guys. It's incredible. But some more stuff on this attempted assassination. This is coming out. And this is wild, guys. I don't believe the official story about this. We don't really have much of an official story, really. What happened? We really still don't know. I think there's a reason why we don't know. They're trying to keep everything hush-hush as possible. I heard a theory, and I actually happen to believe this theory, that this was supposed to end with Donald Trump being assassinated. They're going to blame it on Iran. Nikki Haley was going to step up into the Republican nomination, and we were going to go to war with Iran. That's a theory that I've heard that I think makes a lot of sense. But listen to this. This is crazy. Local law enforcement actually offered drones to the Secret Service ahead of Donald Trump assassination attempt. And guess what? The Secret Service declined. This comes from a whistleblower. Josh Hawley, he wrote a statement on this. Senator Josh Hawley revealed on Thursday that a whistleblower has come forward telling him that local law enforcement partners offered drones to the Secret Service ahead of the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, where gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks attempted to assassinate Trump, but the Secret Service declined the offer. Now, why would they decline the offer? Because if they had drones in the air, that chips away at more of their plausible deniability. Oh, you mean you had a drone in the air? It's right here on video. You can see the drone's right up there, and you see the guy crawling on the roof, and you didn't do anything? They want as little plausible deniability as possible. Or they want as much plausible deniability as possible. Yes, I'll be accurate here. According to one whistleblower, the night before the rally, U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied offers from a local law enforcement partner to utilize drone technology to secure the rally. Why would they do that? Hawley wrote this in a letter to Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. These letters are falling on deaf ears. You think Alejandro Mayorkas gives an F? He doesn't care. He just wants this buried. He's probably just like, shut up. He puts in his paper shredder. This means that the technology was both available to the United States Secret Service and able to be deployed to secure the site. And here, right here, let's go to the report that he shared here from Josh Hawley. So since I wrote to you on July the 22nd, my office has received new whistleblower allegations that further call into question your department's preparations. The American people deserve answers about your historic failure to protect President Trump. According to the reports, the shooter used a drone to survey the site in preparation for his attack. This was confirmed by FBI Director Chris Wray. According to one whistleblower, the night before the rally, the Secret Service denied offers from a local law enforcement partner to utilize drone technology to secure the rally. So very, very interesting. They had lacked security when they were offered more security. They said, "Nah, we're good. We're all right." The last one we're going to talk about, guys, is Benny Johnson is actually... He's on the site. I believe he's in Butler, Pennsylvania right now, or he was there yesterday at least. And he's kind of doing some investigating himself to try to figure out, like, Because it's kind of hard to tell how far the building is away. I mean, I know it's 150 yards, but what does that actually look like? And he's there. He's getting on the building. He's with Corey Mills and Eli Crane. Corey Mills is a former, I believe, sniper in the military. I believe Eli Crane also is a former sniper. So these people both have a lot of experience in this. But he says, we are on site in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is the site of the worst assassination attempt on a president in a generation, yet we know nothing. Yeah, I think that's very important to realize. We still know nothing. It's time for answers. And he says, we're going to show you everything. I'm here with Corey Mills, Representative Corey Mills, and Representative Eli Crane. Stay tuned. So he's probably going to put all this together in some sort of documentary or something like that. So I look forward to watching that. But until then, here's some behind-the-scenes look of Benny Johnson over here in Butler, Pennsylvania. Watch. I'm doing a 360. I believe that they're on the AGR building right now. I assume that's what that is. Is that the AGR? I don't know. Not sure what building that is. Maybe it's the sniper building. Maybe, so that must be the AGR building right there that they're zooming into. But there's also another video. This is the one that it made me go, wow, when Benny Johnson posted this. Because, like I said, you can't really tell. It's kind of hard to tell, like, just get a feel for how close this building actually was. And Benny Johnson actually here, he stands where Donald Trump was standing when he was giving his speech. And he points to the AGR building where the sniper was located. And it's incredible how close this is. Watch.
This is the FBI flag where President Trump was standing and was shot. That's the spot right there.
Now look.
That's the building.
That's the building right there.
Crooks was. You can see how close it is. I hope you can actually gauge this. Right? You can see the details of the building, right? With the naked eye. You can see the rust here. You can see the top of the building. It's a simple shot. Did you ever play football? It's a football field. That's what it is. It's just a football field. This entire fence line was no security. You could bring anything you wanted all the way to that fence line. And this was where President Trump was standing. Right there. That's where he was shot. This, guys, there's a kill box is what it is. There's a kill box. And according to all of our sources, these roofs over here and the roof over there, none of that had any security on it. There were open rooftops in every direction, at slightly longer distances, but for a trained professional who can shoot, easy work.
So absolutely insane, guys. That is, I imagined it somehow being a little bit further away. Well, like you said, it's just a football field. If you ever been to a high school football game or whatever, that's how far away he was. Wide open. Absolutely. Absolutely wild, guys. I just can't believe it. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for today. Oh, press the wrong button. Here we go. Let's get to the chat. How are you guys doing? We got a big super chat from Christy. Wow, Christy, thank you so much. That really means a lot. Thank you so much for that super chat, Christy. $50. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you. Many thanks. Really appreciate that. Who else we got in the chat here? Give me 1 second. All right. We got Claim the Density in the chat. She says, hi, Michelle. Great chat, great channel. Love Andrew's work. Hey, thanks, Claim the Density. Really appreciate that. Michelle says, Thanks. Andrew works really hard. I do. And Michelle also works really hard. She's always in the chat, killing it, helping me out. I do, guys. I put about every one of these shows, I put probably about 3 or 4 hours into it because I'm trying to make sure I get all of these things accumulated throughout the day. I put them, I categorize them. I make the thumbnail. I don't have any production team, guys. It's just me, myself, and I. Everything you see coming out of this channel is me. At least on the production side. Of course, I have the help with Michelle on the mod side. But it is time consuming. I try to do my best for you guys. I appreciate you guys. Michelle says, are you going to stream President Trump this evening? I probably won't be able to. I have a prior commitment I'll have to get to tonight. But I will be back tomorrow morning for my Saturday show. Ann Davis says, thank you, Andrew. You're welcome, Ann. Christy says, hey, love the show. Yeah. I mean, wow, the $50 super chat. That's incredible. Thank you so much once again, Christy. Keith said, who booked that venue? You know, I'm not entirely sure who booked the venue. I haven't heard any reports on who it was. Ann Davis said, they really secured the scene. Where's the forensics? No pics. Still have ammo, weapons, explosives. Yeah. Crazy. Then they had the FBI washing off the roof of the AGR building. Like what? The day after it happened? Just what is going on, guys? They expect us to believe this crap. It's just crazy. And then you have the FBI director, Wray, going in there before Congress answering questions and saying, well, you know, some of these things, you know, you'll have to ask the Secret Service. And then when Kimberly Cheetah was hauled in there to answer questions, some of these things you're going to have to ask the FBI. It's just like, this is crazy. I'm like, they need to get the cop who hoisted himself on the roof, who claims that Thomas Matthew Crooks pointed a gun at him. They need to get that guy in. Give him some if it helps, give him some sort of agreement, some sort of contract, non-prosecution agreement or something. Say, hey, listen, you tell us everything. You know, we'll sign. Nobody can go after you. Tell us what happened. Who did you contact after you saw Thomas Crooks? What happened after that? Did you hear? That's who we need to get into Congress to testify. But no, it's all of these FBI leaders, the Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner, Christopher Wray, Kimberly Cheadle. And this is probably, I mean, it's supposed to be used to, because, you know, when something like this happens, a lot of, you know, false information gets thrown out there. So they're supposed to put forward just the real facts so that people don't go off on all these wild tangents of what could have happened. But what they're doing is they're just crafting a narrative that covers their own butts at the end of the day. That's what they're doing. So we're not getting real answers. We're just getting a narrative that helps the FBI, that helps the Secret Service, and makes them look a lot better in the official record than they are. It's just crazy. Jeremy Brummer says ongoing investigation means an ongoing cover-up. I agree, 100%. It does. They're trying to manipulate. They have all of this information, and they're trying to move it around to try to see how they could present it to the public, what details they need to omit, what details they need to add, so the public is satisfied with what happened. That's exactly why Kimberly Cheadle resigned. And that's exactly why Kimberly Cheadle resigned when she did. At first, she said she wasn't going to resign. Why? Crazy. It's insane to think when the Secret Service that she is in charge of has a catastrophic failure, the biggest failure that you can have in your job, It's insane to think that she wasn't going to resign, but she said she wasn't. What happened? That built pressure for her to resign. So all these people were calling on her to resign. There was a bipartisan letter written for her to resign by Republicans and Democrats. People were like, oh, all angry because she didn't resign. And then she resigned. And it's like a psychological thing. When she resigned, it's cathartic for people. And they feel like they got something. But they didn't get jack. They didn't get jack crap, okay? They didn't get jack-ish. They didn't get anything. She's still getting $50,000 a year in retirement or severance pay. And all we got was this stupid t-shirt that Kimberly Cheeto resigned. Yeah. Yeah. Tabitha says, great show. I look forward to the next video. Hey, thank you so much. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for today. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning. I hope you learned something. And if you could do me a favor before I hop out of here, if you could like the video and subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified when I go live on my next one. And if you'd like to support the show, consider becoming a member. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the weekend, and I hope you have a great one. I will see you tomorrow morning. God bless.